Welcome back everybody to another MOTOBOB video. Now this bike over here is my own Triumph Tiger 800 XCA, and while I absolutely love this bike, there is one area in which it's starting to feel a little bit dated versus some of the brand new bikes that I'm lucky enough to ride and test. And that's in the cockpit with the sort of techie features and phone integrations and things like that. So look, if you're someone who's also riding a slightly older bike or a simpler bike, but you do love your tech, then today's video may well be of interest to you because we're looking at this, the Chigee AI-5. Effectively, what you've got here is a pretty simple system that's easy to install, but it opens up some thoroughly modern features that you'd find on, brand new 2024 bikes. We're talking riding data, security features, phone integrations, and so in this video, we're gonna look at what's in the box. I'll show you how I've installed it on the Tiger 800, and then I'll run you through my favorite features that make it so good.
Now before we get underway, I just want to say a huge thanks to Chigee for supporting the channel and sponsoring this video. Naturally, it won't be a super critical review, but more so an overview of the key features that I really like on this system. Although I should add that we don't promote anything on the channel that we don't think is properly good. Now in the box we've got the screen, which is also the sort of control unit, and with that there's a nicely made metal mount that means you can stick it on the bars of your bike. On the back of the unit there's also a ball mount, and so if you have a sports bike or something without a flat bar, then of course there are plenty of other ways to mount it. Also in the box there's the cameras, so one for the front and then another with a longer cable to run to the back of the bike, and there's also a GPS module which it uses to calculate speed. Lastly, you've got a few accessories for mounting, as well as a power cable to run to the battery.
So look, a quick word on how I've installed it on my particular bike. Obviously, with it being an adventure bike, there's lots of space to install stuff, so this does make it quite easy, but there aren't that many components, and so it should be relatively simple for most bikes. It took me only half an hour to an hour, and that was being exceptionally neat and tidy with using zip ties to make sure any excess cable is tidied up. So we'll start up here with the main head unit and the bar mount, and that's got lots of adjustability, that bar mount, so I've positioned mine over to the left with the arm extending into the middle, and that means the display is nice and central, and it really does look very neat and almost factory. Couple of things to consider are that you can still see your main speedo up there and also have access to the key, and also you can play with that ball mount to make sure the angle's right for when you're actually sat on the bike, and also that you don't get too much glare and things like that. After that, you've just got 4 things to install, so I've stuck the rear-facing camera on the bottom of the luggage rack here. I always use an alcohol wipe to make sure the surface is super clean, so you get a good stick, and then I've just run the cable down under the seat inside the subframe here and then under the tank. I didn't need to remove it, you just pass it along the side behind the frame there and then up into the cockpit and then connect it together. Similarly, you've got the GPS module which I've just stuck on the side of the subframe here. Looks super neat, but it's important to make sure that it's got a really good clear view of the sky, and again with the cable it follows the same route up to the main unit. Then you've got the power cable, so hook it up to the battery terminals. You also got to splice this yellow cable into something that's connected to the ignition. So on this bike I've gone for the tail light because I had a bit of cable exposed here. They do supply some little taps, so it makes it nice and easy, and again run that under the tank following the same route. Lastly, it's the front-facing camera. I found a neat little spot on the front mudguard so it looks nice and tidy, and then again just tidied up the cables, tucked them away behind the headlight, and that's it. It looks really nicely done. I have tried similar dashcam type products in the past with a screen on the bars, and they haven't looked anywhere near as good because they were too colorful or too much going on, but this is nice and stealthy, very clean, very minimal, and doesn't ruin the look of the bike.
So now we're all hooked up, here's a quick demo of what this system can do. Switch on the ignition and the screen fires up, and here you'll see some basic riding information like speed and direction. Now this home screen is actually customizable in terms of background and brightness, and it's worth adding that it's a touchscreen, as you can see, which makes it super easy to navigate. Now you've got the option to view your dash cams both front and rear, and these are constantly recording to a memory card so you can access the footage should you ever need it. There are a bunch of settings such as resolution, video length, data overlay and audio, and you can also set it to automatically save the videos if it detects a collision or if the bike is parked and it detects a bump. and with each you've got varying levels of sensitivity. So look, it's right up there with the best dashcam features on the market. Now on top of that, you've got a view more focused on riding data, so here we've got speed from the GPS and also some extra useful stuff like battery voltage, trip time, trip distance and altitude. But my favorite feature of all is the wireless CarPlay or Android Auto if you prefer. This opens up all of your favorite navigation apps like Google Maps or Waze, as well as calls, messaging and music and podcasts through Spotify or Apple Music. Now I personally love using CarPlay in my van, and I'd been wanting it on my bike but had yet to find a good solution. But I think the Chigee does it perfectly.
Now on top of all that excellent stuff, there are also a few peripheral little bits that give you even more functionality, like the smartphone app that you can download for free that allows you to review your footage. And as accessories, you've got the wireless remote, which means you can control the settings and screens without having to move your hand from the left grip, and TPMS or tire pressure monitoring, which not only gives you a pressure reading but also temp. Super easy to install. You just set the unit to pairing and then you replace your valve caps with their little pressure sensors, and then yeah, you've got tire pressure right there on the screen, along with being able to see if your tires have warmed up.
This is really rather good. It's like having a very punchy, vibrant, extra TFT display, but then the ability to flip over to CarPlay is just absolutely fantastic, and the wireless connection seems to be working really well. Now you could either pair it with your AirPods or something like that, or you could go for a headset like a Cardo, and that can pair directly with the device and you can get your sound that way. But yeah, then you've got the video as well, and you can almost use this as a rear view. Obviously mirrors are fantastic and you've still got to do your lifesaver checks, but there's not anything really like this where it gives you that very direct and clear view behind you. TPMS is doing its thing as well. Now it did give me a warning that the pressure was a little high. I run 40 on the back, but you can actually change the boundaries for what's considered low and high, so you can get it dialed to your bike's particular settings. And in this more general dash view, you can see I just stopped off to set the cameras up. The tires are 10 degrees at the front and 14 on the rear. Really cool, and definitely something to look at and be conscious of if you're just setting out on a cold morning. But the other thing I've been waiting till we're out on the road to mention is the blind spot warnings, which use the rear camera to detect vehicles around you, and you can see it says caution because it knows somebody is over to that left hand side of me there. You can see the traffic's rolling through and it's prompting me that there's something directly behind me as well. Now you can configure this to a minimum speed. I've got it set to 0 so I can demo it to you, but you can set it to 20, 30, 40, so it's not always going off in these scenarios. And while it's no substitute for good riding and good awareness and good observations, it's still something I'd rather have than not. Now look, understandably, not everyone likes gadgets on their bike, and some of us do ride motorcycles to get away from being connected. But for those like myself who love all this sort of stuff, especially if you own an older bike, then this is a brilliant way to bring it bang up to date and also add in some great safety and security features. Price-wise, you're looking at just under 500 quid or $600 for the main kit, which I think is roughly comparable to similar products, although as I've mentioned, you're looking at a little extra on top for the remote and TPMS. So if this looks like your sort of thing, then I'll leave a link down in the description below where you can find out more. And as always, I'd love to know what you think of it, so do let me know down in the comments. Hit subscribe if you've not already to see more motorcycle tech videos like this. Many thanks for watching today, and we'll see you in the next one.